This is your first time in Ireland?
This is my first time in Ireland, yes.
And we have to ask you all those tourist questions of where have you gone to outside of Dublin?
Well, we went, a couple of friends went to Galway for the weekend. That was really nice. We went to the Cliffs of Moher. We did a tour that stopped at a couple of places. It was beautiful, and we had amazing weather. I also am planning to go to Belfast, hopefully, before leaving, and to go to Giant's Causeway as well, hopefully.
Yeah. I'm probably going to get slaughtered for this one, but I always find Giant Causeway is just it looks better on the postcards.
You think so?
Oh yeah, it's worth a look. But go to Belfast and go to Northern Ireland, because it's as I say, it's part of the same island or land mass, but it's quite different. So yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
definitely.
Other than say driving on the wrong side of the road and using different currencies and all of that, what's the main thing you've noticed that's different here?
I definitely think that the work culture is very different. You guys, and it's something that I knew about Europe before even coming, was people are more life oriented rather than just work oriented.
Yeah.
It's really it's really nice for me personally coming here. I'm a college student, so always work and go is what I've been used to.
Yeah, something that we find extremely strange that people say, oh yes, they've got 2 weeks annual vacation in the US. We'd be mortified if we had 2 weeks annual vacation. I mean, the minimum here is 4. Yeah, and if you go to Germany, it's 6. You know, how would the American workforce relate to that?
That would not be a thing at all. I think it's amazing that at 5 most places are closed and everybody's out at the pub enjoying a pint with their coworkers. In the States, people are working until 8-9 p.m. on a regular day and then going home and eating a TV dinner and going to bed.
Something that also might be perhaps a bit different is that public transport. I mean, we actually like public transport, and people want to use public transport. That's not my experience in the US.
Depends on the part that you go in, definitely. I took a trip to New York, and the public transport system over there, taking the subways, was very interesting for me.
Sure.
In Miami and in Orlando, I drive everywhere.
Yeah.
My parents were joking, saying that I'm going to forget how to drive by the time I get back, because taking the public transportation system here and walking everywhere in Dublin has been so different for me. But I've enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah. The other bit you might find it strange if you look closely is a lot of the cars aren't pristine the way you would. There's mud all over them, and actually quite a few of them are old. That's not my experience in the US.
There are, yes, people kind of care about what they drive a little bit more just because they're doing it so much longer, I guess. And when you park a car and you walk to your car, you take more pride in it. Here, it's wonderful. They just parallel park and they're in the market, out the market. It's not about, what other people think. It's about getting from A to B, which I think is refreshing.
So have you found, because obviously when people would look at you, they'd be thinking, well, perhaps less so now, but if you had been here 20 years ago, people would say, oh, that's not a native. And they all then start drilling, where do you come from? Just like I've done.
Yeah.
Have you had much of that here?
Definitely. I think it's funny to a point because people don't know what I am sometimes, and they're like, oh, you're not from here, where are you from? And I'm like, then I'll start speaking, they're like, okay, so you're from the States, but I hear some more, and then I'm like, oh, I'm also Hispanic, and we start talking about that, and they're like, I would have never really guessed, and I'm like,
Most Hispanic people I have met in the US, they would almost invariably be Catholic. Now, and did you come here with the impression that this was a very Catholic country?
Actually, I did. I was kind of expecting that, and to my surprise, it's not what I was expecting. Not in a negative way at all. Just it wasn't what I was expecting in that sense.
Yeah. And we know, and the listeners will soon know as well, you're going to Pride in a week or so's time. Are you looking forward to that?
I am. I think it's going to be really exciting because I get to participate in this event in the place where, it was voted in by majority. It's the first country to have it voted in by majority, and I think that's going to be such a beautiful...
one. Yeah, I mean, everywhere. I mean, the US had marriage equality, or same-sex marriage, as you would call it, before we did, but you had it through the Parliament or through the Congress. We had, or in fact, you had it through the Supreme Court. We had it by popular vote, and that was.
I think that says a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Did that get much coverage in the US?
Oh, definitely. And I know that personally, I have a lot of friends in the community who were. I was just so happy that was a thing, and that people were finally going to accept. I like what you guys say, by the way, marriage equality rather than same-sex marriage, because that's what it is. You're fighting for marriage equality.
Exactly. I mean, we wanted people who are because of their sexual orientation, we didn't want them to be treated any differently from somebody who had another sexual orientation.
Yeah, of course.
And the other bit now that we want to talk about, you're you're not from Orlando, but you're a student in Orlando, so you'd be there a fair old chunk of the time, would you not?
Yeah, I'm entering my 4th year now at the University of Central Florida, so right smack in the middle of Orlando.
Yeah, and what are you studying there?
I'm studying writing and rhetoric with my minor in business. I'm hoping to do some scripted television writing in the future. Yeah.
For mainstream TV, or because you've got a whole range of television there now?
I think I would just love to write for any kind of just story-driven kind of thing. So it doesn't matter if it's mainstream or not. It's if the story is good, that the network or the streaming company really supports it. That's all I really
So
look
you'd
for.
be looking at news in that sense of the word, or would you looking at what we would call human interest stories?
I would want to write I think like dramas and stuff or sitcoms, more like actual like television entertainment kind of thing, tell stories that way.
So what would be something that you would watch over there that you would recommend to people here? In our house at the moment, what's that damn thing with Kevin Spacey that's on at the moment? The one about the president.
Okay, yes. Well, see, right now, because where I'm staying doesn't have a television, I've been very into Netflix here in Ireland. So a couple of things that I've been catching up on was Sense8, but then I found out that it was canceled, and I was absolutely heartbroken. But for those of you who don't care that this show is now canceled, I still recommend that you watch it. It's the writing is amazing. It's something that I would love to just pick the writer's brain about, because it is about it talks about so many world issues, and it talks about so many different inclusive issues that people are dealing with in the world now.
House of Cards, that's the one she's watching at the moment.
House of Cards,
House of Cards is it's not my thing. Do you find in that respect then that news is different in this part of the world, that we tend to have a much more global news than what was my experience in the US?
I've been surprised when I look at the newspaper. A lot of the stuff is about events that are happening rather than a lot of the entertainment based news that we find in the States. Your front page is talking about real things that are happening and real events and whether that be crime or something celebratory, as opposed to when you see media in the United States, it is very gimmicky, very entertainment based, which is a shame because I know a lot of great journalists who have stories to tell. Yeah.
Coming back to the main subject, we wanted to talk about the Pulse nightclub. Were you in Orlando when it happened?
I actually was out of town that week for another family situation.
Sure.
But I had got so many messages from people who thought I was in town, and they're like, "Are you okay? Are your friends okay?" Because I do spend a lot of my time, like you said, in Orlando. I'm there year round, and so unfortunately I wasn't there. But the moment I found out what was happening, me and all my friends were getting in contact to make sure that they were okay, if they were out. Unfortunately, I did have some friends that had people that they knew that were in the nightclub, and who lost people. Which is tragic.
Does Orlando have what we would call a gay area, or was Pulse a particular club that attracted people from all over? Dublin has a small gay area, physical area, which nothing like, say, San Francisco has with Castro, or Sydney has with Surrey Hills, or places like that. What's the situation in Orlando?
I'm truly not sure, just because I'm usually in the college area, and our college area has our school itself has organizations for people in the LGBT community, and we have places on campus with safe spaces for advocacy and for talking about these things. So as far as like a space in Orlando besides the school itself, I am not sure, but Pulse was it is a very popular nightclub that people went out to.
Sure. Now, particularly because of your background, I don't, if we look through the list of people who were the victims, particularly the people who were fatalities in Pulse, a lot of them were from the Latino community as well. How did that community respond? Did they see that they were under attack, or did somehow or other people say, well, this was actually an LGBT?
I do want to say that I think people saw it more as an LGBT hit rather than a Hispanic hit. But in general, there are a lot of Puerto Ricans in the Orlando area, like outside of this college town traditional. There's a lot of Puerto Ricans there, which is, I noticed a lot of the fatalities were Puerto Ricans, and it's because they're the main population of Hispanics that are in the Orlando area.
Yeah. And was it? I mean, we would have seen it as a terrorist attack. How was that interpreted in Orlando? Was it seen in that light?
Yeah, it was definitely seen as an act of terror. It was definitely seen as a massacre, as a horrible act of terror. Yes.
Yeah, and the guy in question, we're not going to mention his name because we're not going to give him any of the free publicity he wanted. He was a Muslim. He claimed he did it as an ISIS-inspired event. Was there a backlash against the Muslim community particularly because there's quite a significant Muslim community in Florida in itself?
What I believe and what I've seen throughout my time at UCF and in Orlando was, instead of giving, like you said, we didn't want to say his name, you don't want to give him the free publicity. That's not what happened in Orlando. Instead, it was about being Orlando strong. It was about, one pulse. It was people coming together to instead celebrate the love that we can have for our community and for people, rather than thinking about all the hatred instead. And I thought it was an amazing thing that nobody took the time to turn on a group of people that not all of them are doing these things and think this way.
This was a crazy guy.
It was a time where the people of Orlando and the people of the world came together to just love each other, and it was very special, I think.
Yeah. Well, we had a memorial for it for the event in Dublin last year. I gather you're going to be talking to Manunya Griffith this week, who's also the Grand Marshal of Dublin Pride, and she spoke at the memorial event last year. You looking forward to that?
I'm definitely looking forward to it. I can't wait to find out, what it felt like for her to read those names and to be amongst all these people in Ireland who were coming together for this community. And it was in another country, and to still feel like, the people here in Ireland felt a connection. It's tremendous to me to see that.
Luna, we look forward to talking to you again. You're going to be helping out at Pride, which I think you'll enjoy, assuming the weather is good. But in the meantime, we just want to say, muy gracias.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, that is tragic events that took place 12 months ago in Orlando. And if for nothing else, have a minute to think about it yourself so that these things never happen again in this world.